Back when I was a kid, I loved playing the LEGO video games, the ones Traveler's Tales began to develop starting in the mid to late 2000s. Long before LEGO games and movies based around top-tier media franchises were commonplace, all we really had at the time were LEGO Star Wars and LEGO Indiana Jones, the ones based on Lucasfilm properties. That's it. Nowadays, there are LEGO games on just about everything. It's insane how many of these have come out over the past, well, close to 20 years at this point. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the LEGO games make up some of my favorite video games of all time, because they don't. They're very simplistic in structure, and despite the gameplay advancements the series has made since its inception, at their core, they haven't really changed all that much. You play through a series of levels, collect different colored LEGO studs which act as the game's currency, use them to purchase unlockable characters, vehicles, and other bonus content, find the secret collectibles in each of the levels like mini-kits that are used to build certain artifacts or vehicles associated with each stage, as well as give you a large stud bonus, red power bricks that unlock extras, which are essentially cheats you can activate at any time from the pause menu, and of course the gold bricks, which make up the vast majority of the collectibles in each game, that are awarded to you for completing a wide variety of objectives, mainly beating levels in both story mode and free play, but also collecting enough studs in each level to fill the stud meter at the top of the screen, or, in some of the more recent installments, complete various side missions for characters within the central hub area that connects all the levels together. The LEGO games are made for kids. They're massive collectathons primarily. They may lack depth, but having grown up playing a lot of the earlier Traveler's Tales LEGO games, I will always have a soft spot for them no matter how old I get. Due to their excessive length in regards to the collecting and hoarding that goes on within them that seem to increase with each new installment, the only LEGO games I still buy and play are those based on superheroes, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I do still find a lot of enjoyment in these titles. Not so much for the completionist in me, I don't try to collect and unlock everything anymore, I don't have the time, but for someone who just enjoys comic books and superheroes. The main reason I play LEGO superhero games now, as an adult, is for their stories. And yes, you heard me right, their stories. In a sea of superhero media nowadays that portrays these characters in a relatively serious and somewhat grounded way, it's kind of refreshing playing these colorful, campy, and cheesy LEGO games. They are set within exaggerated versions of the worlds we know from the comics, and feature a wide array of visual and verbal humor, as well as slapstick, none of which are restricted by any set rules or guidelines. Everything goes in the LEGO universe. Nothing is off limits. These games may poke fun at the properties they are adapting, dialing up the immaturity and silliness, but it's done in a respectful and flattering way, all in good fun. To me, the LEGO superhero games feel like a modern-day video game equivalent of the Elseworld stories made popular by DC Comics, the ones that were completely separate from the main continuity and set within their own unique, alternate realities. Like I stated, there have been a lot of LEGO games released over the years, and there have been plenty of ones centering around superheroes from both Marvel and DC. I own all of them in my collection, and hope to look at each one of them at some point in the future. I will be putting greater emphasis on their story modes, more so than their gameplay though, having gone through the gist of it at the beginning of this video. If you've played one LEGO game, you've basically played them all, let's be real. I think the vast majority of us have either played one, have seen someone play one, or have kids that play them. I'm assuming you are familiar with these games in some way, especially if you've made the decision to watch this video. Anywho, for the time being, I'm only going to be focusing on the first ones, the original LEGO Batman, as well as its two sequels, LEGO Batman 2, DC Superheroes, and LEGO Batman 3, Beyond Gotham. all of which are going to be separate videos I will be releasing in the next few weeks. Lego Batman, the video game, came out back in 2008, which I remember like it was yesterday. It was only the 5th Lego game Traveler's Tales had made. However, it was the first to feature an entirely original story, the previous games having been directly based on the Star Wars and Indiana Jones movies. Because of this, I feel it has a lot more freedom with what it can do than those games did. But seeing as Lego Batman was released in the early days of these Lego games and lacks voice performances and everything, it still shows its age, unfortunately. Its humor is very limited because it has to rely solely on sight gags and slapstick alone. It's not as layered as later games would become, bringing verbal humor into the mix as well. The stories would just become a lot stronger moving forward. The story mode of Lego Batman is broken down into 3 separate episodes, which have Batman and Robin go up against groups of supervillains that have escaped Arkham Asylum. Each team of evildoers is being led by a mastermind villain, trying to accomplish a specific goal. The first episode is called The Riddler'S Revenge, and has the Riddler plotting to rob the Gotham City gold reserves, with the aid of Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, and Clayface. The second episode is entitled Power-Crazed Penguin, which sees the Penguin employ Catwoman, Bane, Man-Bat, and Killer Croc in an attempt to take over Gotham with an army of remote-controlled penguin robots they have strategically placed throughout the city. The last episode, The Joker's Return, has the Clown Prince of Crime teaming up with Harley Quinn, the Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, and Killer Moth to try and detonate a series of bombs he has planted in the Gotham Cathedral to spread his deadly laughing gas across the city. This episode's premise is easily the darkest of the 3, but Joker's toxin only causes citizens to laugh uncontrollably and not die. The game is E for everyone after all. While these episodes are very simple in their execution, I do enjoy each of them featured in this game. They provide all of the main villains with a reason to be there, seeing as each member of these teams provides a vital component to the success of their respective masterminds' plans. All of the levels have their own unique designs and personality, tailor-made for the boss villain you face in them, as Batman and Robin. Some of them, like Amusement Mile, the Gotham Zoo, and even the Snowy Cones factory where you take on Mr. Freeze and his goons, are just so colorful and vivid, some of my favorites in the entire game. I think the groups of villains have been chosen wisely as well, with similarly driven characters or ones that just seem to fit naturally together. Penguin is with all of the animal-related rogues, like Catwoman, Croc, and Man-Bat, and the Joker is put with all of the crazier ones like Harley Quinn, Mad Hatter, and Killer Moth. Regarding Killer Moth, this might be his most memorable appearance of all time, at least for me. How he's depicted in this game is fucking hilarious, constantly reaching for light fixtures and fidgeting like a crack addict. The boss battle against him even makes use of a giant light bulb you have to turn on. It's amazing. Maybe someday Killer Moth will be done justice in a live-action film or TV series, but the Lego one from this game made a lasting impression on me. It always comes to mind when I think of the character. On top of the 15 levels that make up the hero story, accessible through the Batcave hub area, there is also a villain campaign that you can play within Arkham Asylum. It's pretty neat because it provides a bit more backstory surrounding the levels you play as Batman and Robin, seeing how the villains set up their traps to spring on the heroes and acquire the necessary items during each phase of their operation. 2 villains also get more time to shine in them that I feel were misused during the hero side of the story. Apart from the opening cutscene of Power-Crazed Penguin, Bane is not mentioned throughout the entirety of Episode 2. You find out in one of the villain levels that Penguin had hung him out to dry when the two were surrounded by the GCPD at the Gotham docks, trying to steal a special satellite that will allow Penguin to transmit a strong enough signal for all of his penguin robots to receive across the city. Having Bane be one of the boss characters you encounter as Batman and Robin would have been really epic. I think his Lego figure looks awesome, and the heavy breathing animations are hilarious. At least the cutscene depicting Bane's capture by the police was a standout moment though. He rages out over Penguin's double cross and throws a police cruiser into the air, which lands on his head and knocks him out cold. Seeing the officers attempt to drag his unconscious body back to the precinct is an image I will always have burned into my mind. Classic. The other villain I feel was misused was Scarecrow, who just so happens to be my favorite Batman villain out of the bunch, so that sucks. During the hero's story, you have a dogfight with his biplane, preventing him from spreading his fear gas across the city. It ends up crashing into Joker's helicopter, and Scarecrow is presumed dead, not appearing again throughout the episode. It's revealed in the villain levels that Joker and Scarecrow survived the crash, riding a pair of balloons down through the rooftop window of the Flugelheim Museum. Getting to play as Scarecrow in one of these villain levels is a lot of fun, and a consolation for not having a hand-to-hand encounter with him as the heroes, I guess. But thankfully, later games in the LEGO Batman series would provide much stronger battles between Crane and the dynamic duo, making use of the mind-altering effects of his fear toxin. What's really cool about LEGO Batman is that it draws elements from several Batman media that had been released in the years prior. There were various callbacks to certain character designs from the comics, the 1960s TV series starring Adam West, as well as Batman the Animated Series from the 1990s. Several locations you visit throughout the game are found in the original Warner Bros. Batman movies, like the Gotham Cathedral and Flugelheim Museum from the '89 film, Arctic World from Batman Returns, or the Snowy Cones Ice Cream Factory from Batman and Robin. Riddler's gang of villains also reference those movies, as Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy are working alongside one another, much like in Batman and Robin. Riddler and Two-Face are partnered up in a few of the levels as well, just like they were in Batman Forever, and of course there is the classic duo of Penguin and Catwoman, made famous in the 1960s show and Tim Burton's Batman Returns from 1992. LEGO Batman, as well as its sequels, would make use of a costume system that has you switching suits at various points throughout the levels, that provide the dynamic duo with special abilities to get past obstacles. Batman has a demolition suit that can destroy shiny silver LEGO constructs, a sonic suit that uses sound vibrations to shatter glass, a heat protection suit that allows Batman to touch and walk on hot Lego pieces, and a glide suit that lets Batman glide for a short period of time. With Robin, you have the magnet suit that lets him climb up certain walls, a technology suit that allows him to activate special tech panels and control various devices, like a robotic turtle to walk onto a button, for example, an attract suit that sucks up loose yellow, green, and red Lego pieces to turn into various helpful objects to progress, and the water suit that lets Robin dive deep underwater and pull levers and the like. I mentioned in my review of the Batman Arkham Origins DLC that I love when Batman Media provides the Caped Crusader with all of these different types of suits to combat all the challenges and environments he is faced with. It reminds me of all the various action figures of him I had as a child. The Batsuit is a gadget in and of itself, and while some of us probably expect him to have everything he needs in a single suit, the idea of Batman having several interchangeable ones is awesome too, even if it might be a little hokey to some. All of the Dark Knight's iconic vehicles make an appearance in LEGO Batman. In each of the episodes, you get one level centering around a specific Bat vehicle. Riddler's Revenge features one with the Batmobile having you take on Two-Face's armored truck. Power-crazed Penguin has you battle Penguin's submarine, another callback to the 1960s show and movie within the Batboat. And the Joker's Return has that aerial dogfight with Scarecrow I mentioned earlier in the Batplane. I should mention that Batgirl and Nightwing are also available to play as in LEGO Batman in free play mode. Batgirl has all of the same alternate suits that Batman has, and Nightwing has all of Robin's. I guess this is as good a time as any to bring up the full character roster featured in this game too. Compared to the newer LEGO games, even Star Wars The Complete Saga that was out the year prior, LEGO Batman's selection is pretty drab. Half of these characters are ones you'll never really play as, stock LEGO figures like police officers, sailors, scientists, and fishmongers. Hush is an unlockable character you get after saving all of the hidden citizens in each of the levels. Ra's al Ghul is unlocked after beating the game to 100%. Though LEGO Batman is the most simple and archaic of all the LEGO superhero games that have come out, I don't consider it to be the worst, and it might still be my favorite of the LEGO Batman ones, because it focuses primarily on Batman himself, his world, and his characters. The other two games of the trilogy would implement elements from the wider DC universe, bringing in other members of the Justice League and a plethora of supervillain characters as well, but I will get to those games in due time. Just be patient. I want to thank you all for watching my review of LEGO Batman. Like I had mentioned, I will be emphasizing the stories of the other LEGO superhero games more than their gameplay itself moving forward, because all of these games play the exact same, more or less. I don't want to repeat myself in all of these videos. That wouldn't be fun to script and record, and I don't think it would be very fun to watch either. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more like it, please think about subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell icon to be notified of all the future content I release on here. Let me know any superhero games you would like to see me discuss in the future down in the comments section below. I will see you all in the next one. Take care and stay nerdy. I remember the release of LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes like it was yesterday. There was a lot of buzz and excitement surrounding the game, at least from fans of the LEGO series like myself. I had enjoyed the first LEGO Batman a lot. It was the perfect blend of so many different incarnations of the character, all lovingly wrapped in the goofiness and silliness the LEGO games had been known for. But with LEGO Batman 2 in 2012, everything changed. Gone were the days of silent characters, only making the odd grunt noises here and there. Now they each had their own voices, in cutscenes and during gameplay, provided by many notable voice actors. Troy Baker as Batman, Charlie Schlatter as Robin, Travis Willingham as Superman, Christopher Corey Smith as the Joker, and Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor, reprising his role from various projects within the DC animated universe. Having been the 12th LEGO game developed by Traveller's Tales in the span of only 8 years, this was a much-needed change to their formula, because the silent stuff just wasn't cutting it anymore. It was getting stale. Giving these LEGO figures voices not only made them feel more three-dimensional as characters, but it also allowed Traveller's Tales to incorporate a wider variety of humor into their games, not just rely on slapstick and sight gags alone. The story mode would naturally have more layers to it as well, which made everything far more engaging than it had ever been before. In my opinion, while not the best LEGO superhero game that has come out as a whole, LEGO Batman 2 does have the strongest story, compared to all the rest. I don't know if it was because Traveller's Tales were exhilarated to finally have all these tools at their disposal or what, but it seemed like they pulled out all the stops with LEGO Batman 2's narrative. The story of the game starts out at an awards ceremony being held in Gotham to commemorate the Man of the Year. Lex Luthor ends up losing out to Bruce Wayne before the ceremony is violently interrupted by the Joker, who accepts the Man of the Year trophy on his own behalf and begins his own twisted acceptance speech. He leads a band of criminals, Harley Quinn, the Riddler, Penguin, and Two-Face. Thankfully, Batman and Robin arrive, defeating each of the villains one by one throughout the theater. The battle leads to a chase sequence with the dynamic duo in hot pursuit of the Joker, who had commandeered a speedboat, which ends at the entranceway of Gotham Funland in Amusement Mile. The Joker is defeated, and he, along with all of the other villains, are incarcerated at Arkham Asylum. Their imprisonment is short-lived, however, as Joker is broken out of Arkham by Lex Luthor, using his new kryptonite-powered weapon called the Deconstructor. It has the ability to deconstruct black Lego bricks, and Joker uses it to free the rest of the inmates at the asylum, leading to an entire level set on the asylum's grounds within a maze-like structure. You get to build various obstructions in order to make the villains crash their vehicles they're driving around and eat shit. It's hilarious. Back to the Deconstructor, though. It's a simple idea, but I think it's a genius element of this game's story. Because it's powered by kryptonite and can disassemble shiny black bricks, which Batman's entire arsenal is made up of, it effectively targets both of the main hero's strengths, Superman's raw abilities and Batman's gadgets. LEGO Batman 2's narrative focuses primarily on Batman for the first chunk, but it eventually incorporates the rest of the Justice League characters by the end, hence the game's subtitle, DC Superheroes. Throughout the story, Batman is being pushed up against a wall. His vast resources have essentially become useless, thanks to the villains and their deconstructor technology. I love how he is forced to utilize multicolored bricks instead of black ones for his Batmobile and other such vehicles and devices. Not only is it just funny to look at, but it shows you the lengths in which he is trying to adapt and overcome the challenge blocking his path forward. As the game progresses, you realize that the opposition Batman is faced with is too much, even for him, and slowly he is forced to ask for assistance, most notably from Superman, even though Batman is kicking and screaming the entire time, trying everything possible before accepting the fact that he needs help. Stubbornness goes hand in hand with a character like Batman, and I think this game portrays this notable characteristic of him brilliantly, even if it is exaggerated for laughs. The reason Lex Luthor has chosen to side with the Joker in this game is because he believes the clown can help him be elected president of the United States, which has happened a few times in the comics over the years. They end up building a giant Joker robot that can fire deconstruction beams and disperse laughing gas, which will sway voters into voting Lex Luthor president. Much like a lot of the comic and animated appearances that have depicted Luthor and Joker teaming up, the two argue with each other frequently throughout the game. Luthor is very controlling and calculated, whereas the Joker plays by his own rules and is unpredictable with his actions, so they are never really on the same page with each other, not entirely at least. At one point, Luthor wants to kill Batman to take him out of the equation, but Joker refuses because if he died, there wouldn't be any fun anymore. It's these kinds of disagreements and tension that cause the villains to lose at the hands of the Justice League in the end. Like I had mentioned, LEGO Batman 2's story focuses on Batman and Robin at the beginning, but slowly starts bringing in the other members of the Justice League as well. Superman is the first to appear early on and becomes playable in several of the levels. The Man of Steel is impervious to all damage, indicated by his Silver Heart health bar. He can build Lego objects at super speed, can see through walls to solve puzzles, can melt through gold Lego with his heat vision, extinguish fires and freeze water with his super breath, and use his immense strength to pull things. But the game does provide a few instances where he is weakened by kryptonite if he gets too close to it, or needing another character to disarm kryptonite-powered force fields, so it's not always a cakewalk playing as him. There's even a level near the end that has him unable to fly or attack quickly, due to being exposed to a larger concentration of kryptonite on the back of the giant Joker robot. Thankfully, Batman is there to save the day and catch Superman for a change. Ah, best friends forever. The other members of the Justice League, like Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter are all here, but unfortunately, they don't become playable until the very last level. Manhunter only being shown in a few cutscenes and not the actual level itself. Aquaman as well as Hawkman are unlockable characters, not featured in the main story mode, but can be selected when replaying levels or when free roaming the central hub world of Gotham City. And speaking of Gotham City, oh man, was this one of LEGO Batman 2's main selling points. Coming off the coattails of the incredible Batman Arkham City, LEGO Batman 2 was one of only 3 Batman games at the time, if you're including Arkham City's walled-off portion of the city, to feature a fully open and explorable 3D Gotham, one of only 2 that allowed you to drive the Batmobile within it, the other being the incredibly ambitious yet flawed video game tie-in for Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, released for the PlayStation 1 in 1998. You heard me right, Batman and Robin from 1998. It took them 14 years and 2 more console generations before they attempted an open-world Gotham again, which seems kind of ridiculous and long overdue. Kudos to Traveler's Tales for finally making something like this happen. You can also fly around as Superman, which is something very few DC games featuring the character can say they've done, and done well. Despite this being a silly and kid-friendly LEGO game, I think LEGO Batman 2 has one of the best Gotham cities we've seen in video game form, even to this day. I like the visual style of it, all the flashy colors, and the use of all the notable landmarks like Axis Chemicals, Arkham Asylum, and Wayne Tower, just to name a few. Several additional villain characters can be unlocked by defeating them across the city, acting sort of like side missions in a way. They are stationed at landmarks associated with them, like Hush at the Gotham Hospital, Killer Moth at the power plant, or Two-Face at City Hall. Some of them even reference the earlier Batman movies, like Penguin being at the Gotham Zoo, like in Batman Returns, the Riddler being at the Wayne Enterprises building, like in Batman Forever, and Mr. Freeze hiding out at the Gotham Observatory, like in Batman and Robin. Metropolis can be seen in the distance, on the horizon, but you wouldn't be able to go there fully until later DC LEGO games. There is a level in LEGO Batman 2 that takes place in Metropolis, specifically LexCorp, but to get there, you just fly off the coast of Gotham a certain distance before a cutscene takes over. It reminds me of that mission in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where you had to hijack and fly a plane to Liberty City. The same sort of thing happens. A cutscene just takes over and teleports you there. Before I end this review, there are a few odds and ends I wanted to address with this game. I love how it implemented new save switches that break up the levels, having your character insert a memory card-like object, remember those, into the slot of these devices. LEGO Batman 2 is much longer than any of the previous LEGO games had been, with a much grander story, so it was nice giving the player the ability to end game sessions partway through levels without having to worry about losing any progress. Though I enjoyed the main costumes for the heroes in the first game, I have to admit they are a lot better here. The suits Batman and Robin wear feel far more modern than the ones from before, which did make sense, seeing as LEGO Batman 1 was inspired by the 1960s TV show and Tim Burton movies primarily. Just like the first game, each hero has several special costumes they can switch out that give them unique abilities to progress through the levels. Some of them are alterations of suits featured in LEGO Batman 1, while others are completely new. But regardless of which suit you have on, they each have multiple applications now, and not just a single use or ability. Out of all 3 LEGO Batman games, at least the ones that have been released thus far, who knows if there will ever be another, this is my favorite suit system implemented. I think each outfit has a strong combination of useful abilities. The puzzles involving them are really fun, and appearance-wise they all look really cool in their own ways. I think at this point the whole idea of the costume system still felt new and enjoyable, but sadly by LEGO Batman 3 I think it had overstayed its welcome, getting blown way out of proportion, but I will discuss all of that in a future video. And finally, let's not forget a quick shout out to the Scarecrow, my favorite Batman villain. I mentioned how I felt the character had been misused in LEGO Batman 1, but here, not only do you get to fight him within the city inside of a giant pumpkin at Gotham Funland, but he also serves as a boss during the events of the main story. You battle him within the walls of Arkham Asylum, and the fear gas canisters he throws at you cause your vision to become disoriented, with him growing larger and larger with each one that enters the room. As you begin venting the gas, he shrinks in size and is eventually defeated. This encounter was one of the most memorable from LEGO Batman 2 in my opinion, and made up for the lackluster appearance Scarecrow had made in the first game. So, LEGO Batman 2, a great LEGO game and an even greater superhero game. It improves on everything LEGO Batman 1 had introduced. Mechanically, its gameplay feels a bit more refined, the costume system far more layered and enjoyable, the character roster beefed up a little bit, and the open-world Gotham, as previously mentioned, was very ambitious and revolutionary at the time, which seems crazy coming from a LEGO game, but it's true. If you've never played it before, I would highly recommend LEGO Batman 2. I think it has enough stuff in it for fans of all ages, young and old, to enjoy, and features one of the strongest stories in any of these LEGO superhero games. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching this video, and I hope you found it insightful and entertaining in some way. If you'd like to support the channel, think about subscribing and hitting that bell icon to be notified of all the future content I release. I will see you all in the next one. Take care, and always stay nerdy. LEGO Batman 2 DC Superheroes was a revolutionary installment in Traveler's Tales LEGO video game series. It was the very first to implement voice acting, which added some much-needed complexity to the story modes of these games moving forward. It gave them far more freedom in terms of the amount and variety of humor they could incorporate within them, not just rely on slapstick and sight gags alone, like previous games had been forced to do. It may seem hard to believe, but LEGO Batman 2, at the time of its release in 2012, was also one of only 2 Batman games that featured a fully explorable 3D Gotham City, one you could traverse not only on foot, but within the Batmobile as well. The other being 1998's Batman and Robin on the original PlayStation, which I have already reviewed on the channel. A massive open world is something we have come to expect from Batman games nowadays, but back then, when LEGO Batman 2 was released, it was still a very new thing, unventured territory. LEGO Batman 2 was everything a sequel should be. It expanded upon what was found in the first game, and introduced a lot of new elements as well, some of which were again firsts for the series. LEGO Batman 2 began to incorporate the wider DC universe with its story and character roster, but even still, it felt limited to only the biggest and most relevant names close to Batman and the Justice League. Following the release of LEGO Marvel Superheroes in 2013, though, which featured an abundance of Marvel content within it, more characters, references, Easter eggs, and cameos than you could shake a stick at, Traveler's Tales set out to make a third installment in the LEGO Batman series that would attempt to provide just as many characters, locations, and features as that Marvel game had, even updated aesthetics like the inclusion of the new big LEGO figures for characters that had been normal-sized before. The sheer scale of LEGO Batman 3 was made so much larger than it was in the previous 2 games. Its title Beyond Gotham tells you everything you need to know about it, because it surpasses a single city, a single planet even. This one didn't just feel like a Batman game with its story, but an entire DC Universe one from start to finish. With LEGO Batman 3 being such a large game in comparison to its predecessors, filled to the brim with DC fan service galore, you'd think it would be the best in the LEGO Batman trilogy, right? But no, I find it to be the weakest, at least in a few key areas. Sure, it has a plethora of playable characters and bonus content within it, but some of the cameos from Kevin Smith, and more specifically Conan O'Brien, feel very awkward. A few of the game's biggest moments feel like ones that were already in LEGO Marvel Superheroes, just with a new coat of paint, and some of the new gameplay changes and additions that were made here, following LEGO Batman 1 and 2, are just plain bizarre in my opinion. The switchable supersuits that had become a staple of the LEGO Batman series that gave your playable hero unique abilities to get past obstacles were blown way out of proportion in LEGO Batman 3. Something that was once really fun had now been beaten to death and stomped into the ground. In LEGO Batman 3, Batman and Robin have 8 suits each in total. All of Batman's suits can now glide, and all of Robin's are acrobatic, meaning you don't need to be wearing a specific suit in order to perform actions I feel Batman and Robin should naturally be able to do by default. This change was great, and in terms of the heroes' costumes themselves, I think their visual designs and abilities are some of the most enjoyable and creative of all 3 games. What I find to be really annoying, though, is that on top of Batman and Robin having super suits, the 2 main villains you play as throughout the game, the Joker and Lex Luthor, I will explain the details as to why when I discuss the story mode, also have 8 suits each at their disposal. Though the whole multiple suit gimmick makes sense with characters like Batman and Robin, even Cyborg, who also has them in this game, giving a bunch of them to Lex Luthor, and especially the Joker, just feels really forced and unnecessary. Being 3 games into this series that all focused on this suit-switching gameplay feature, with now double the suits for each character that had been present in the previous games, factoring in that Batman, Robin, Cyborg, Joker, and Luthor all have varying selections of these suits with differing abilities you have to keep track of, and that the suit powers seem to take a precedence over the superhuman abilities of some of the other DC characters you play as, like Superman or the Flash for example, to progress through many of the levels. A lot of LEGO Batman 3 can feel very tedious and exhausting to get through, mainly because I find the new costume wheel that pops up when you change suits to be a little distracting, as it interrupts the flow of gameplay, especially when you are having to switch from one right into another. The only positive to all of this is that you do have a simple button prompt to quickly switch between the suits when close enough to one of the objects it can interact with, so it does help cut back on time a tad. The other big issue I have with LEGO Batman 3 comes down to its story. It centers around the highly intelligent extraterrestrial cyborg known as Brainiac. He attacks the Earth in his Skull ship, and intends to use his new shrinking beam, powered by a special crystal fueled by the emotional spectrum, that is, the combined energies of the 7 Lantern Corps leaders, to reduce the size of the Earth and add it to his growing collection of planets. In order to save the Earth, the Justice League are forced to team up with some of their greatest adversaries, like Lex Luthor, the Joker, Cheetah, Solomon Grundy, Killer Croc, and Firefly. The basic premise of this story isn't what bothers me. I've always loved the idea of Brainiac traveling the cosmos collecting knowledge essentially. The Flash even refers to him in this game as a space nerd, and I mean he really is when you think about it. And I've mentioned countless times on this channel how much I adore the whole concept surrounding the emotional spectrum and colored lantern cores. Having it featured so heavily in this game is awesome. The framework of a great narrative is definitely here. What sucks is the overall pacing of LEGO Batman 3's story. Brainiac is defeated about halfway through, following the release of the imprisoned Lantern Corps leaders, which weakens his shrinking beam, no longer strong enough to shrink entire planets. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman chase the villain across Europe, where he manages to shrink and collect many of its notable cities, like London, Paris, and Pisa, as a consolation prize. This level, level 7, called Europe Against It, is probably my favorite in the entire game. I just love the perspective and visuals of everything, with the heroes being tiny or appearing much larger than everything else around them. Their fight around the globe ends up in Gotham City, where the heroes successfully trap Brainiac inside of his own ship. The first half of the game's story is definitely the strongest. It feels the most focused, centering around the Justice League, going up against the secret society of supervillains. At least I think it's supposed to be the society. The game never directly states it. Regardless, they battle each other until the arrival of Brainiac, and then the two factions team up to take him down and save the Earth. I feel like that could have been enough for the entire story, all 15 levels, if it had been done right and paced correctly, having several of the levels at the beginning of the game based around individual members of the secret society that the Justice League would have to face one by one, and then slowly introducing the Lantern Corps leaders, their planets, and of course Brainiac as the game had progressed. But no, what Traveler's Tales ended up doing for the last half of LEGO Batman 3's story mode felt very lazy and mundane to me. Following Level 8, Big Trouble in Little Gotham, where Flash manages to imprison Brainiac's ship, the game branches out and allows you to play the following 6 levels in any order you wish, before taking on the 15th and final one. Each of these levels have you journey to the various Lantern homeworlds to obtain their energy sources within their power batteries, luring the Lantern Corps leaders back to Earth so the heroes can hopefully reverse Brainiac's shrink ray using their power rings to activate the remaining shard of Brainiac's energy crystal in combination with the crystals at Superman's Fortress of Solitude. All of these Lantern worlds are unique and vibrant, the most visually impressive levels in the entire game, but the levels themselves are very short compared to the earlier levels. They feel like filler without much substance to them. Narratively, they also feel kinda rushed. I mean, you're basically circling back, collecting all of the Lantern leaders, like Brainiac had done at the beginning. The story sorta treads water until the climax happens. I will admit, though, these levels do lead to a lot of laughs. In order to make infiltrating the evil Lantern worlds a lot easier, the heroes and villains switch costumes. Batman dresses as the Joker, Joker as Batman, Robin as Lex Luthor, Luthor as Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman as Cheetah. You get the idea. It's pretty hilarious. I also love how on Yzmalt you get to see Wonder Woman unsuccessfully hit on by Atrocitus, who acts like your stereotypical douchebag jock. Anyways, after you finish up on all of the Lantern planets, the heroes and villains regroup at the Fortress of Solitude, and are able to concentrate the combined energies of the emotional spectrum into their version of Brainiac's shrink ray, thus allowing them to return the Earth to its regular size. Superman grows large as a result of it, though, having been the one holding on to the crystal, and the escaping Brainiac uses his ship's mind control to take over the Man of Steel and have him attack his allies. It makes for a really cool visual and a fitting battle to close off the final moments of this game. Batman is only able to free Superman of the mind control following an emotional speech about friendship, something Robin had been forced to do earlier in the game within the Batcave when Batman was trying to kill him, also being controlled by Brainiac's ship. The whole message of this story is that Batman must learn to show emotion and feel for other people. Much like the theme found in the last game, this one is an idea that has been examined numerous times in Batman stories, one way or another, and has been watered down a great deal here. It is a children's game after all, but I think Traveler's Tales did a good enough job exploring it, especially incorporating the emotional spectrum into everything. The game shows the power of its influence, how it affects many of the main characters, making Flash greedy, Wonder Woman angry, and Cyborg fearful, for example. Before I end this review, there is one piece of content within LEGO Batman 3 that I need to bring up and discuss. Inside the Justice League Watchtower, you can select the various hub worlds you want to travel to, like the Lantern Planets or the Moon, to find all of the shiny collectibles in them. But you can also play several bonus levels, some of which are DLC, based around the first appearance of Batman in comics, the Dark Knight Trilogy, Man of Steel, Bizarro World, etc. Out of them all, the only one that's must play in my opinion is Same Bat Time, Same Bat Channel. Adam West is featured in LEGO Batman 3 as the citizen in peril you must rescue several times in the game world, as well as in each of the levels. He plays the same role that Stan Lee did in the LEGO Marvel series of games. Traveler's Tales went a step further and paid their respects to West's version of Batman by giving him his own separate level, and I can't tell you how awesome it was to play, not only when this game came out back in 2014, but also revisiting it again for this review. I love the Adam West Batman so much. I think it's one of the most charming, entertaining, and underappreciated depictions of the Batman character that has ever come out. Getting an entire level based around it was just so cool. Honestly, a fanboy's dream. It features dialogue from the late Adam West, onomatopoeia when you punch things. You can carry around the iconic Bat Bomb from the 1966 movie, take on the show's iconic villains, Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, and Joker, drawn on mustache and all. Take part in a chase sequence with the Batmobile, made to look like a giant film set, and it's all topped off with a cheesy dance number with Batman doing the Batoozy. It's amazing. LEGO Batman 3 has a lot of great DC content within it, so much to make any die-hard fan foam at the mouth. Despite all the bells and whistles though, I don't consider it to be my favorite in the LEGO Batman trilogy. I think it's still LEGO Batman 2. There are just too many troublesome aspects related to its gameplay changes, weird cameos, and pacing of the story mode itself to make me fall head over heels for it completely. I do still enjoy this game and play it from time to time, but it is one of Traveler's Tales' weaker LEGO superhero titles that have come out, in my opinion. I want to thank you all for watching my review of LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, make sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified of all the future content I release on here, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care and stay nerdy.